Episode of the Linux Action Show is brought to you by the good-looking folks at GoDaddy.com. Use our code Linux and save yourself some cash.
This week on the Linux Action Show, we take a look at Sabayon 9. Is this distro a real challenge to Arch Linux or just a reskin distro spin? Tune in to find out. Plus more Steam on Linux rumors. We put on our Kickstarter hater pants and so much more. Oh, this week. Yes. Thank you, Linux Action Show. Thank you, Linux Action Show. Yes. And welcome to Season 22, Episode 8 of the Linux Action Show. My name is Brian. I was going to reach over here and grab like a drink to drink and like slurp it, but I realized I forgot to grab myself a beverage. Kind of thirsty right now.
Hey there, Brian. It's so great to have you back, off to a strong start already.
Hey, Chris. Hey, Chris.
Hey, man.
Look me in the eyes. Fist bump.
Boom.
Nice.
Hey, B-Man, check out this awesome Runs Linux this week. This was submitted by, and he hates it when I call him this, Disco in the IRC chat room. But, DY, look at this, Brian. DYSOOCO.
Disco.
And it's his Reddit name, and it's also his IRC chat handle. He's in there this morning.
Well, here's the thing. If you go on Reddit and IRC and maybe a few social networks and you have the same name in all of them, that's your real name now.
Yeah.
So now you are officially Disco spelled weird. You know, you're like when people say woman, but they spell it with a Y.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how cool that is when they do that, and how everyone high-fives people that do that.
Yeah.
Well, now people are going to high-five this guy for spelling disco like that.
So check out what he sent along here. This is his smart TV from a Spanish hospital that runs Linux. His grandfather gave him this device, and it's an embedded inside a TV that he bought, and it runs an old version of Gentoo. It boots directly into some slideshows about nutrition and that kind of stuff. And he sent in a picture of it. So here's the box that he detached, and it looks like, nice. Almost like
standard,
the size of like an external full-size drive enclosure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and it's got USB and Ethernet and all that kind of stuff.
PS2 ports.
Don't forget that DVI, Brian. He loaded it up though with Lubuntu.
PS2 port.
So he couldn't really find anything of use to do with it because it was just simply, the slideshow. So obviously some vendor had taken this and they called it Info Mar. How do you say? I don't know. It's not even English. Oh yeah, because it's Spanish. And so there you go. He made this his own custom little thing on there. Then he replaced it with an Ubuntu derivative, and now he's got a little silent box.
That's the most beautiful thing ever.
Very cool. Thank you, Disco. I love doing user-featured ones.
I love that a lot.
Welcome back, B-Man.
Thanks.
We got
good to see you.
We got a big show today.
No,
turns out
probably not.
No. So everybody's been asking. Are you guys going to do a Sabayon 9 review?
And we're not. No, wait.
I think we are.
Hold on.
Scroll up to the title.
Sabayon.
Yeah, we're doing a
Sabayon episode.
Right, yeah.
We're doing a Sabayon review.
Man, good thing we spent that time with Sabayon.
Thank God. Yeah.
And I think also maybe we might also take a little bit of a how does it compare to Arch look to it. And then Matt's going to stop by and he's going to show us how to tweak that cool open source, or no, I don't know if it's open source, but that cool free game TeeWorlds. You know that one where it's like Pac-Man with a rocket launcher and stuff?
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, he's got tweaks you can do for how to record, like how you can do screen captures inside the game's engine, and also you can swap out sound files and stuff like that.
Now, this sounds useful. All these other things Matt's been doing with how do you blah, blah, run your system, make backups, that's all garbage. But how to swap the sound files in this particular game?
I know, it's a good game.
Now I'm interested. Now Matt's starting to pull his own stinking weight around here. That's all I'm saying.
I also saved a bunch of Raspberry Pi-related emails for you. So at the end of the show, we're going to get to some feedback. We've saved up some feedback, and a few of them are about different Raspberry Pi stuff.
I love Raspberry Pi stuff.
B-Man, before we get to all of that, we need to say good morning to the fine folks over at...
Whoa!
Wait, that's not Danica.
I don't know who the hell
that is. James Hitchcliffe. That sounds like a...
Hinchcliffe.
That sounds like somebody from Cheers.
Well, nothing's... Because it has Cliff in the name. Yeah. I see where you're going with this. No, I don't want to talk about GoDaddy anymore. GoDaddy, I regret to inform you we're officially dropping you as a sponsor.
Maybe I can make this work.
We don't want your money anymore, GoDaddy. You're just no good for us. I can't handle this.
Hold on, look at this. Look at this. I'm a race car driver. Look at me. I'm a race car driver. I'm a NASCAR driver.
Well,
and I'm on GoDaddy.com.
Your hair really didn't change that much.
I know. This is. Look at this. Look at this. This is almost a perfect match. Boy, audio listeners, you are missing out on what might be my finest moment on this show.
This is the top.
This is probably it.
This is the bee's knees right here.
We're peaking.
Bee's knees. This is our peak.
Well, so let's
next week we officially jump the shark.
Here's the deal. Is Danica wants to get back.
Ridiculous.
But GoDaddy's just not sure if the audience wants Danica back.
Ridiculous.
So here's what they're doing.
Stupid.
Just to kind of get a measure of it, Brian.
Man.
I know this is nuts. You know what they're doing? They're practically giving away .coms, B-Man. If you want a .com for $4.95, use our code 495Linux.
No,
and you use that enough times, tell you what, I have a feeling Danica will be back.
I don't know. I feel like if we buy all this stuff through GoDaddy with this guy on the front, and no offense to Mr. Cliff, Mr. Clifford Clavin on the front page here, I'm sure he's a good enough dude. Yeah. But maybe then they'll think, spike in sales is because of this good looking dude.
No, sir.
No.
I'll tell you why.
No, we need to make sure they know that we're doing it to get Danica back.
I'll tell you why.
We gotta be clear.
We got a gal on the inside. She's gonna hook us up. She's gonna cook the numbers for us. She's nice. She's blonde. I mean, she's not Danica. I mean, let's not go crazy. She's not Danica. But I mean, she's gonna hook us up.
She's fine, yeah.
So she's got the system rigged, B-Man. That
okay.
I'm just saying, she is gonna be there for us if this works out. And I don't know. Hopefully we can move forward from this. I mean, hopefully.
I hope so. Good God. I barely got out of bed this morning. It was just stressing me that much.
Well, I got to tell you, I didn't know, man. I got out of bed expecting to see Danica this morning. We were texting as late as last night. So I tell you, it's a fluid situation. We'll just call it that. It is a fluid situation, folks. And if you want to support this show, you can support our sponsor.
I don't know that I like fluid situations.
I know. We got to get this nailed down.
Yeah.
We got to get this nailed down. Use that code 495Linux to get a .com for $4.95.
Hey, do you have any Android picks?
Dude, B-Man, check out this epic Android pick. Are you ready for this?
Are you
ready for this?
I don't know.
No.
I don't know if I'm ready.
Brian?
Okay.
Ready. Here we go. XBMC for Android will be released soon. This isn't an Android pick that Madger's going to be able to put on the list right away, but it will be soon. It is fully functional.
Like we're talking full XBMC here?
Dude, we're talking the full shebang.
Ridiculous.
Running on top of Android now. Check this out.
That's dumb for phones and tablets, but man, for those little Android set-top boxes coming along, that's pretty pimp.
So speaking of that, some of this work was sponsored by Pivos, I believe, Pivos, and they have a little hardware box that you're seeing here in the video version that they've really optimized for. But that said, it's all just written to Android. In fact, they already even have a touch skin. That's the major thing it needs right now is sort of reskinning for a smaller UI because it's been designed for television UIs.
Yeah.
So they have to kind of rework some of that.
But
they are reworking that, and I mean we see it here. And this is I think, I don't know, a brilliant use for these Android devices. I mean, XBMC is far and above one of the first-class media centers out there. And now you can run it on Windows, you can run it on Linux.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
When you say the phrase, a brilliant use of these Android devices out there, which Android devices are you talking about exactly?
Well, think of all these people that are going to buy a Q and then end up with nothing to do with it, right? If you could flash a Q with this, that'd make the Q at least semi-useful. I know.
We'll talk about that in the news.
Well, there's also, there's the Gooseberry. The Gooseberry
is... No one's going to buy that either.
Well, maybe. And you
we'll talk about that in the news.
All right.
We got parts with that, but I think this is awesome. I mean, XBMC coming to everything is cool.
You might be right. Maybe these set-top Android devices are dead in the water, but if they're not, I'm going to be running XBMC on them.
Awesome.
See, the thing I like is because they're low power and they're silent. You know what I'm saying?
So it's great that plays video and everything, but I've got the app pick of the week here that is going to blow your mind. Chris, flash that screen up there. Boom. That right there is Nano, my friends. Effing damned Nano.
That's right.
It is the open source re-implementation of Pico, the world's most kick-ass but straightforward text editor ever. Freaking Nano.
Hey, Brian, Wikipedia does not have an entry for Nano, the text editor.
Yeah, it does.
No, you mislinked. I got it. I fixed it.
Oh.
So...
I was like, wait a minute. That would be a huge problem.
Look at the chat.
This is freaking Nano.
What? Look at this. Uh-oh. Now you got Vim lovers in there. You got Joe lovers in there.
No. Guys, there's nothing wrong with Vim. There's nothing wrong with Emacs. There's a lot of great things out there. Let's give the love to Nano right now because freaking Nano deserves it. Okay. We can give love elsewhere later on. You know what? You know what we're not giving love to today?
Emacs.
Edlin.
Okay. Okay.
You remember that?
I'm okay with
You remember
that.
that with DOS where
Yeah,
you had
yeah.
Edlin command and literally it was you edit a line at a time?
I wouldn't have
Messed
expected that Edlin to really be on the Linux Action Show desktop app pick, but
You wouldn't expect that. You know what? Someone needs to come up with an open source Linux specific re-implementation of Edlin.
Yeah.
And literally make it Ledlin or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah, and
GNU,
have it exactly
yeah.
the same.
Yeah.
Because that was the most pain in the ass text editing style in the entire planet.
And-
but Nano.
and just
Nano
to be clear, you're
freaking
picking
Nano.
the GNU edition. Doesn't FreeBSD have some sort of freedom-hating version of Nano?
Yeah.
I don't
probably.
know. They
I
hate
don't
your
know.
freedom, though, right?
They hate my freedom. I
I'm
don't
just
know.
kidding.
It's
I don't know why. I feel like getting people worked up. I don't know what it is.
You working on that?
All right, so
Fantastic.
ready to spin the random distro spinner here, Brian?
It sure as heck am.
Boom. Okay, there we go. That was not very dramatic that time.
The distro of the week is an amazing one, if for no other reason than its name. That being Liquid Lemur. It sounds a lot like an Ubuntu code name,
Yep.
but it's not. It's the full name for this distribution.
Or something that happens to me after I eat out at a restaurant that I shouldn't.
Yeah,
have
I get the liquid lemurs. Here you go. This is a hardcore distribution. So here's the cool bits about Liquid Lemur.
Oh, okay.
Basically, it's a nice little distro. Sits on top of Arch.
Oh, okay.
XFCE, nice light desktop. Cool. It's got a nice dashboard going on. It's got a nice
Really?
dock going on. It's very, very subdued look and feel by default.
Okay, now you've got me.
And what's really cool is it comes. You can get it with i486 kernels, so you can get it and run it on older machines, on old 486 machines. Finally, right?
This actually, first
I
of all,
love their webpage.
has an adorable.
I love it.
It's just a great website.
It is fantastic. I mean, it's a cheap looking website.
I really like how
but they've really embraced it.
But I like how
love
the
it.
green headers on these match the green of the background.
Yeah.
I think that's nice.
Classy. Well, I just like the lemur that just looks pissed off sitting next to like this radioactive looking logo at the top. And he just looks like he's going to kill you. If you don't use my lemur, I will kill you.
So
Love that.
you know what they did is they did something that got me interested though. Is they
That's
took,
over at liquidlemur.com, by the way.
They took their Arch Linux and they combined it with their XFCE and Bob's your uncle. I find that interesting.
It's a great combo.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's a seriously great, lightweight, highly configurable combo. I haven't been running this distro, but I looked at a lot of the screenshots. I took a kind of a browse around to see what people were thinking of it, and honestly, seems pretty cool.
Yeah, it actually does.
Yeah.
So we'll have a link to that in the show
Man,
notes.
use this, run a little nano, boom,
What don't you need?
kerbloom,
What don't you need with that?
hot
thing?
diggity damn
Yeah,
sauce. That's
yeah.
going to be tight.
And if things get tight and you want to get online, just do maybe next week you pick wget and then you can open up the results in Nano.
I should pick wget
Yeah.
next week.
Yeah. Maybe the reboot command. All right, B-Man. Let's do the news.
Okay. What's new in the news today?
I like that. Yeah, I like that. You're not even saying this week. It's right now, Brian. And here's what it is. I thought this was interesting because we've covered the arc of the story for quite a while.
Yeah.
And Debian has come out and said, you know what? We want to work with our offspring, a.k.a. mostly Ubuntu. But all real Debian derivatives is not necessarily just Ubuntu. But that's obviously the big one.
Yeah.
Now, this is sort of a change in pace, but there's been some interesting technology developments in Ubuntu that Debian would kind of like to reclaim back into the mainline distribution. First up, that Phronix points out in their article, is AppArmor integration. Ubuntu's been working on AppArmor integration, and Debian would like to bring that back into Wheezy Plus One. Also, UEFI, which has been an interesting, popular topic as of late. UEFI, Secure Boot, all of those things, although Debian's not exactly sure if they want to go with Ubuntu's implementation. They at least want to look at some of the tech there and see
Yeah,
if
they want to see if they can benefit the upstream from the work that Canonical's doing.
They
Makes
kind of
sense.
go on to a couple of different things that make integration hard for Debian's side. Canonical remains unwilling to support PPAs via Launchpad for Debian, only for Ubuntu. Canonical's reasoning for not supporting building PPAs for upstream Debian is that it's expensive service to operate.
Yeah.
So
It is.
I can kind of see that.
Yeah.
Some developers are scared of Debian maintainers on the Ubuntu side.
They are frightening.
Say they seem scary or slow to respond.
I mean, the mentors,
Here's
not
what
maintainers.
yeah. Here's what Debian is doing to address some of these things. They are setting up a Debian derivatives front desk for helping other distributions. They're also creating a Debian derivatives census to collect useful information for Debian developers. And there's also a Debian derivatives guideline to help distributions based upon Debian.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's
It
great.
is interesting, though, because Debian still, with those kinds of things, to me, seems like Debian's still kind of saying, well, we're in the driver's seat. Here's your guideline for how you can be a derivative of us.
They are in the driver's seat.
It is interesting. But how long? I mean, yeah.
I mean, Debian is the guy.
It's the
It's the Grandmaster Flash, and
I guess what I think though.
Here's the thing: Debian is the Fresh Prince, and then Canonical comes along and is like, here's Ubuntu, and really Ubuntu is just DJ Jazz Jeff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do kind of know what you're saying. Well, so
I mean, not saying Ubuntu's not good. I'm just saying.
Do you think if Canonical screws the pooch with their Debian relationship, that it's going to be sort of like the straw that breaks the camel's back, and people in the community who really care about these things are just going to be like, you know what, I'm just done with Canonical.
No.
It seems like this is something they do need to work out there for good relations.
It would be good. Good relations are good.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, I don't think Canonical's been doing all that bad anyway.
Yeah.
The chat room actually asked a really good question about which person in this scenario is Carlton. And I think that would be Linux Mint. I think Linux Mint in this scenario is Carlton. I really do think that most of our show should be based around the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Well,
if we could possibly do that.
I think actually, if you really look at it, most entertainment is.
I think most of it is, right?
Yeah.
It's all just iterations on Fresh Prince.
In fact, the new end theme, we sung it ourselves. We totally did. All right, so let's talk about the Raspberry Pi and a performance boost it's getting just by getting a new distribution. This is coming from the Raspberry Pi folks. That's what I'm covering. I know there's different spins out there for the Pi now, but
lots of spins.
Raspbian is the hard float optimized port of Debian operating system for Raspberry Pi, and they're putting it up for download on the Raspberry Pi website, and they're recommending everybody get it. They say Raspbian is so much faster than the images we've been using so far, and we're really excited about it. We're encouraging all of you Raspberry Pi owners to upgrade as soon as it's available on our downloads page.
Love it.
Yeah,
I haven't tried it yet. I'm excited.
They're saying they've been able to take advantage of some major optimizations. So there you go. Little PSA for you Pi owners out there. All right, B-Man, let's talk a little more hardware. This one.
Whoa! The chat room just pointed out that Linux Mint 14's code name is in fact Hillary. Also a character on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
It is.
I'm just saying this is all coming full circle here.
Right. That's right. It's okay, P-Man.
I'm totally disinterested in the news. I just want to talk about the way the Linux world can apply the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Let's see. Maybe there's a way.
I am somewhat willing to consider also discussing how it relates to Blossom. Only tangentially, though. I'm not willing to get into details on it.
I follow you.
I figured you would.
I wonder if Fresh Prince of Bel-Air would apply to our next story. I decided to put this on the news docket because it just exploded. Did you see about this $99 console? It hit $950,000 after only 8 hours up on Kickstarter. The whole point is these guys want to make a more retro-style console based on Android. It's a little cube.
Retro-styled console.
Retro-styled games is what they say in here. And it's, yeah. I agree.
There's so much wrong with this. It makes my head hurt.
This one does seem a little sketch to me. First of all, they don't have a final controller design. And how can you really buy a console if you don't have any idea how
you know it's going to cost you just shy of $1 million and then you'll be able to come out with a $99?
Right. And also, do they have commitments from these games? Like in their screenshots, they have Minecraft on here. They have, games that I'm not even positive they even have running on this device. But okay, so here's the details though. Before we get our hater pants on, it's got a Tegra 3 quad-core processor, 1 GB of RAM, 8 GB of internal storage, and HDMI out that does up to 1080p, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, 1 USB port, and then the wireless controller.
There's no way they're gonna sell this for $99. There's no way.
And Android 4.0.
There's no way. It's just not happening.
Well,
this is the.
What if it's like...
Honestly, it's not a bad idea. It's a good idea. In fact, I think it's a great idea, and I want to see someone do something like this. But the numbers they come out with are totally unreasonable.
What if it's like these backers get it for that price point and they raise it when it actually ships?
Now, that might be reasonable, because they've currently brought in just shy of $5 million.
This is crazy,
which,
right?
I mean, shows that people want something like this.
Yeah.
So maybe $5 million, those go to subsidize the people that order
what I was
here.
thinking. But you look at this
even
thing,
then, how many total backers are we looking at? 37,000, 38,000 backers.
Which seems like a lot, but not enough to make this thing.
Up.
It's not enough to make this thing a huge industry success. However, it I think could be a good indicator that there is definite interest there. It's been one of the number one things discussed on our IRC chat room in the last couple of days.
So really what we're looking at is, even if you count research and development out, even if the R&D work was 100% free, we're basically looking at the subsidy of this being, if all the pledge money goes towards building it, $125 per unit. If they then charge $100, that means they're doing $225 per unit with no R&D, no ramp up for manufacturing, no distribution costs, nothing. There's just no way. There's just no way. It's not happening with at that price point.
And there's a few vague terms in here when they talk about the games that they will have and things like that. I love the idea, and I love the idea. I'm glad to see there's enthusiasm there. And then the last point I guess I would make is they would be limited to games in the Android marketplace, right?
Not necessarily. You can install whatever you want. You can put something in their own marketplace.
So then a vendor is going to have to custom write a game to run on Android and not put it in the market? Who's going to spend their time to do that?
Well, I mean, they could do that. They could put it in the market, and they could sell it through this directly if they wanted to.
Yeah, boy, if they could really make something for $99,
that would be great. But then again, I look at it this way. I mean, if you want to have a great retro gaming experience, I mean, really,
just get an old console.
Well, get a Raspberry Pi. It's got 2 USB ports. Plug an Xbox 360 controller into it. You've got a controller that looks basically like the one they're building here for this project.
Don't you think that this thing will become pretty much a MAME box if it's successful?
This?
Yeah. It'd be a $99 MAME box that comes with its own controller.
You know, I mean, it looks like the guy who does Cannibalt is there talking about it. But I mean, really, a lot of the games they're focusing on are games that were custom tailored for Touch UI and are smaller, lighter experiences. So this is really anything but a hardcore gaming rig. I mean, it's a casual games rig. Is really what it becomes.
Maybe so. I like that. You know, they're totally cool with you rooting it. They're totally cool with you modding it. I think that's great. Maybe it starts kind of small because they just simply can't scale it at this price. It gets a community behind it, and then they can launch 2.0 at you know, $180, $199, whatever it is. I don't know. It's an interesting thing to see, though. I mean, $4 million. Holy crap, right?
That's a lot. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, if nothing else, it shows that people want something like this, which is cool. I hope that this project succeeds, even if they do go way over budget on what they had, and they have to do like a second Kickstarter to fund the final push or something. I'm cool with that.
The whole thing's ready, but if you want the case, you gotta fund this Kickstarter.
There's so many things on Kickstarter that pop up where I'm like, dude, they're not going to accomplish it for that amount of money. I mean, things cost more money, I think, than people realize. Yeah. And you know, yeah. So that's my big concern. Is it's yet another thing on Kickstarter. Sure, at $5 million, but honestly, at the $900,000, we're gonna release a totally amazing, high quality, really well built video game console for $900,000, no problem.
Yeah, now at $4 million, they probably can.
Now at $4 million, it's starting to look really reasonable. Anyway,
maybe they said it. No, I don't think so. All right. Well, so everybody knows this last week that Jelly Bean actually came out, and if you're on a Nexus HSDB Plus device, you're gonna get the over-the-air update for Jelly Bean. But did you know it also came out for the Kindle Fire? There's already a way to get the new Jelly Bean ROM on the Kindle Fire right now. You don't even have to wait.
World domination.
So I just thought that was neat. Give a little love to the Kindle Fire folks, and also just a way to say, yay, Jelly Bean's out. Jelly Bean got delivered to open source away.
And now there's the fruits of that labor. It's awesome. Love it.
I mean, compared to what we saw last time when they released an OS, and then there was a huge gap before before it got open.
Holy
in fact,
moly.
Did Honeycomb ever get fully open sourced? I guess it did at like 3.0.1 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But it took a long time. Like I have my little HTC Flyer. It took about a year after Honeycomb came out, almost, before I started seeing Honeycomb come out for that device.
All right, B-Man.
Yeah.
So we were going to do an OpenSUSE review, but I was actually looking at an old calendar that didn't have their delayed update.
Not yet.
And they're in RC right now. OpenSUSE is in RC, and 12.2 RC1 notes have an interesting bug fix.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one.
So this is over at muckware.com, and he pulls out the quote here from the patch notes. And finally, following a security audit, Paul kit privileges for Color D were relaxed, allowing members of the TeeWorlds family to use color management without causing further outrage.
It's fantastic. I love that.
It's the Linus patch. So they specifically fixed that issue where I guess he was trying to change color settings on the printer.
It pissed him off.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got all ragey about it. And OpenSUSE guys, you know what? They listen, they fix it. There you go. TeeWorlds patch.
There you go. Chat room has the correction there. The Honeycomb source code came out when Ice Cream Sandwich was released, thanks to Metal Freak and Unidentified for that. So yeah, that was quite a while. So yeah, the OpenSUSE 12.2 is chugging right along. They're going to be, from what I can tell, they're going to be in RC all through July and all through August.
Nice.
Which is funny because what's like Ubuntu's in RC for like 2 weeks, and OpenSUSE is going for quite a bit longer. But
That's good.
Yeah,
Longer RCs are better.
I like that. That's good insight, B-Man.
Thank you.
While we're talking about
That's what you got me on the show for.
while we're talking about RC, just a quick shout to Linux Mint 13 Maya. KDE RC has been released with KDE 4.8 and a few other nice things in there. So just a quick announcement for that. Now, here's an interesting story, B-Man. You know these Phoronix guys. They're always on the tail of Valve, trying to figure out when that Linux Steam client's coming. And Brian rolls his eyes.
Good Lord.
So here's another little bit of evidence for the Steam on Linux conspiracy. Phoronix posts that a Valve software engineer found a bug in the Linux kernel, and there's an interesting story to it. So back in March, Valve encountered and reported an OpenGL bug in Linux, which mainly affected proprietary drivers, not the open source ones. That's both AMD and NVIDIA's proprietary GPU drivers. So the fix was submitted by an NVIDIA engineer, but according to the NVIDIA engineer's patch notes, he sent it to somebody named Mike over at Valve to run it through a series of testing and sort of sign off on it. This isn't the first time that Valve's found some code in the Linux kernel that they need to tweak to improve gaming performance under Linux. Mike is a Valve employee who's they've previously covered on Phoronix, who appears to be working on a Linux Steam client. Don't know if that's true, but they've also recently hired a Linux kernel developer.
I just want to be clear about this. That is your phrasing. Phoronix's phrasing is that definitively he is part of the Valve Linux client team.
Right. Well, I don't know. See, I've only seen Phoronix report it, so I didn't state it like that.
Oh, everything coming out of Phoronix dealing with Valve is so fast and loose. It's like I get so excited about the idea of Steam coming to Linux. I'm
starting to believe it a little more, just because they did hire a well-known Linux kernel developer. This guy did test a performance bug fix for GL.
You know where a lot of Linux kernel developers work? Microsoft.
Well, okay. I mean, they work all over the place, I know.
There's Linux kernel devs at Microsoft.
And there's been rumors that Valve's working on a hardware box based on Linux, maybe like an OnLive competitor kind of thing that would run Linux.
You know where there's other people who work on Linux? Amazon.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean anything. I so much want this to be real.
But a game development shop? I just want to believe, Brian. I want to believe.
Yeah, anyway, I really want to believe it. I feel like Phoronix's strategy is say it enough times into the universe and it'll just happen.
I hope so. I hope that works.
And I just don't buy it.
Also, apparently, Valve is hiring Linux developers right now. They have positions open for Linux developers. We'll see. You're not saying it's impossible. You're just saying Skeptical Brian is skeptical, right?
I'm saying that there's absolutely no reason to think that it's happening other than Phoronix declares that it is and Valve will not confirm anything.
And my dreams.
And your dreams. That's true. Yeah. And honestly, Chris's dreams are pretty much
powerful. I know, right?
Ironclad.
I know. Too bad I always just dream about traffic. All right, B-Man, just a public service announcement for the Arch Linux users out there. You guys are probably slick. You already knew this, but the /lib directory is just becoming a symlink, and being moved to /user/lib. So next time you do a big update, just be aware of that. I don't know if that's going to break anything. I suppose it could for most people. I mean, for most people, I don't think it's really going to be a big deal. They're symlinking it to the new location. I don't really. But I wanted to put it out there just because this happened once to me. And I had moved some stuff around, and I had some stuff break.
You gotta push. You gotta push and move.
Yeah, you gotta push.
Symlink it up.
Symlink it up, B-Man.
Symlink it up.
All right, Brian. Well, that's all the news for this week.
Only once in a lifetime does one get the opportunity to review this specific release of Sabayon.
Right.
I don't know exactly how to say the name, but I'm going to review the distro.
Nice, B-Man. I was actually not...
I just pulled that intro out of my butt.
I like that.
Before we started here, I didn't even know which of us was going to intro it. Chris was like, hey, Brian, why don't you do it?
It's true, because
I don't have anything prepared, but I will.
I was impressed.
I stood up and I did it.
I was a little skeptical of doing a review on Sabayon 9, but I kept seeing requests for it. And the reason I was skeptical for it is... well, first of all, I'm usually biased when something's a derivative of another distribution and I haven't tried it first.
Yeah, like Ubuntu being derivative of Debian, yeah.
Or Mint, or
screw that.
Or, really, any of those kinds of things. But Sabayon 9, actually, once I sat down and started using it, I was really impressed. First of all, I grabbed the XFCE version and I thought, this is sort of underwhelming.
Yep.
It was okay.
It's XFCE.
Then I grabbed their KDE edition, and holy crap, is this a KDE? So remember how I was kind of on the edge with KDE?
Yeah.
No, sir. This is the definitive KDE desktop for me. This is first of all, one of the things I love is great defaults right out of the box. It uses a good organized KDE kicker menu, whatever it's called. Default web browser, oh, that's Chromium. Default music player, oh yeah, that's Clementine. Default video player, yeah, that's VLC. And they all work super great. They're all nice and integrated in with everything. It's just, I love when your distribution takes some of these simple things for me and just does it right. And why more distributions aren't doing things like this, it completely floors me. Now, what we have to remember is Sabayon is sitting on top of Gentoo, in a sense. It's its own, it's complicated, but
It's a Gentoo-y.
So the Gentoo system uses Portage for its packages, right?
Right.
And Portage supports this thing called overlays, where you can continue to use the primary Portage sources, but you can say, in the cases of these packages, pull from my repos instead.
Right.
So you can kind of mix and match, and it's actually handled very well. So Sabion's done enough of that it's pretty much not Gentoo. They're not one-to-one compatible, and it has its own package manager, which is called, I grabbed it here. It's called Entropy, which is its package management system, and Enqueue,
Entropy,
and Enqueue, or however you say it, is the actual command.
Right.
You can actually continue to use emerge and those kinds of commands. You just have to keep the two package managers in sync with their repos. And you could convert a Sabayon system to a raw, pure Gentoo system, or you could actually take a raw Gentoo system and convert it to a Sabayon system. So it's not quite like Chakra and Arch, where they're really dramatically different.
Right.
So it takes a lot of the really great features of Gentoo, and I'll get to some of those. But what I want to talk about is some of the things they've done on their own. First of all, I really like their Rego application manager, which sits on top of sort of the Portage applications tree. And first of all, when you look at it, it's horribly simple.
Horribly. Off the charts simple.
It's very, very simple, right? But
In fact, it's so simple. I loaded up and I went,
But if you start searching around and you look for things, you can actually get some really great data from...
It's a searching UI.
It is. It's to search the package repo.
There's no browsing, really.
But it exposes information that a lot of repo managers don't, and it drives me crazy, like the exact version number of this package, but also
nice.
when it was revved in the repo. So I can see that this Quake 3 data file was revved on June 7th of 2008. So I know if there's something newer out there, that's old. A lot of package managers don't give me that simple bit of information. They also have support for comments in there and things like that. Here's what I love. If something's getting installed that's going to really change things up, this gives you a bunch of information on what's about to happen. Or if you're about to use their update manager, which is very nice and very well done, it will come up and warn you about some changes that maybe have been posted in the repo, like, by the way, guys, we're making a big change in Xorg, and things are likely to break. Let me see if I can pull that up. So it's got like little ways to notify the user right there in the update manager that you're going to need to go tweak this config file.
Stuff going to go down.
Yeah, and I think that's also nice. It comes up with this nice alert, and you can say "show me" or "stop" bothering me.
Yep. It's a really nice touch.
I posted a screenshot on Imager, and in there, the guy's like, I know this is a real pain in the butt, guys, but S just happens sometimes. I'm really sorry. If that pulls up later, I'll show that to you. Okay, so that's Rego, and that's the package.
It's realistic, too. Sometimes S does just happen. What are you going to do?
Here's what I feel like with this, is I feel like this is a distribution that is unabashedly designed for experts. It's got great defaults in the terminal. It's got... ready for this? Check this out. If I run my mount command, what I have right here, ZFS. Out of the box, ZFS support. And so I wanted to use their Rego application manager to go from start to finish to get Diablo 3 loaded on this. Diablo 3, run it under wine, and I wanted to create a ZFS partition, install Diablo 3 on the ZFS partition, go into their application manager, see if I could get Play on Linux, and it has to be a fresh version of Play on Linux to support Diablo 3, and then see if I could go from having nothing on the system to having a ZFS partition and playing Diablo 3. Dude, it worked. It worked really well. So if I go into my ZFS, what do I call it? I can't remember. It's like ZFS Diablo. Clever, right?
Nice.
And then I have a Diablo 3 directory in here, and if you take a look in there, you can see I have Diablo 3. And if I can go here, Diablo 3 launcher. No. There we go. So now I'm running Diablo 3 under my machine. Now this is a virtual machine. I took my desktop and I virtualized it for this demo. But it is a really nice, smooth system. And they had one of the things that's, like an Arch distribution would, very current packages. And I think what this really comes down to is this is sitting in my mind right next to Arch. You've got Arch and Sabayon now. And I don't mean to downplay Gentoo, but I think Sabion's becoming to Gentoo what Ubuntu is to Debian.
Right.
And they're just like there's a legitimate space for Ubuntu.
Yeah.
There's a legitimate space for Sab.
Yeah, someone to come together and build a nice pre-made system.
Right.
Because
look at this. This is, right out of the box. I got a nice graphical installer. It even supports like some fancy iSCSI partitioning and things like that during the installation process. It's got a live CD so you can test it on your hardware. It's got XFCE, GNOME, and KDE spins. And while you could do all of that stuff with Gentoo, this just does it for you out of the box and then later on, when you install packages, if you don't want to use a merge, it pulls their binary versions down, so they install immediately. Yeah. So you get some advantages of Gentoo, you get some advantages of a binary distribution, and it is a out-of-the-box, fantastic KDE setup.
You know what my problem with Sabayon is?
What's that?
Is I really like it.
That's a big problem.
That's a huge problem.
How do you reconcile that?
Here's the problem I've got.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. Yeah. I really like using it. And like you, I liked the KDE edition the best. Yeah. I mean, that was like the sweet spot for Sabayon. And the problem is I like it, but where do I run it in relation to all the other amazing distros that are out there? I mean, I've got the current version of OpenSUSE. I've got the current version of Ubuntu. I've got a nice kind of plain, unstable testing version of Debian going. I've got my Arch server I've got going on. And after a while, I kept running out of places to stick different distributions of Linux.
That is an issue.
So I have to decide
where does this fit?
Who dies? What Linux distribution has to go away in order for me to run Sabayon full time? And I'm not going to get rid of my Ubuntu install. I'm not going to get rid of my Arch install, and I'm not going to get rid of my OpenSUSE install. So at the end of the day, I'm just looking at it. I'm like,
this to me might.
So what am I going to do?
This to me is a contender to replace Arch, and I know that sounds crazy, but
that does sound crazy.
Here's what I like though. It
sounds crazy. Guano crazy.
I sometimes feel a little on the edge with Arch in terms of updates and things like that. Here's a great example. There are 4 notices from the repositories. Let me see these before I do up. This is the update manager, right?
I do like that.
So upcoming,
that is really nice.
Upcoming important updates for ATI and AMD GPU owners. And if you look at it, you get, hi guys, this week we're not going to roll out an important Xorg server update. We're updating the virtual component of the distro to version blah, blah, blah. So he goes on to explain. It's very personal. Like here's another one. See, here's the, here. Hey guys, as soon as you may already know, sometimes you can see, happens. Yeah. It's just like,
I do like that.
This is... I think if you drop the pretense that a distro has to be completely user-friendly and that we need all of these nice features, and you're just like, you know what? Some of us are just hardcore Linux users, and we want to have a very hardcore system, but we also are very busy, and we want some things that are kind of become like the basics that a modern computer should just be capable of doing, just have those taken care of, and I think that's this distribution.
I feel like, and with all these notices and that sort of thing, this feels like Sabayon is the Linux distro that we all use together. You know what I mean? You feel like you're kind of just hanging out with the guys. Because, I mean, even their notices start with, hey guys. and they curse at them. And, I mean, so as long as you're okay with foul language and absolutely no semblance of formality, at least it doesn't seem that way.
But I think that's what I like.
Then this is going to be something interesting for you. But again, I have the problem with where am I going to use it? I don't know where I can possibly stick it.
A couple other neat things. So this is a rolling update. I
like it a lot.
So this you can do rolling updates. So you just stay current, like I'm doing right now. I'm updating 62 packages. They're just keeping them coming. They're usually 1 or 2 days behind the Gentoo repo, so that means they're extremely fresh. When they're not, you can step outside the repo. Yeah. And it's based too on Gentoo hardened Linux, which
is nice.
Which means it's just based on some sensible defaults that really should be taken. Just color me extremely impressed. I went into the review extremely skeptical, so skeptical I almost said, we're not going to do the review for the show.
Oh, no.
But then I sat down and used it, and I'm like, holy crap. I like this so much that Amazon had this great deal on 120 gigabyte SSD for $60.
Yeah.
120 gig SSD
That's a really
for $60.
Great deal, yeah.
Yeah. So I grabbed it, and this is an image from that SSD. So that I loaded on the box. I'm like, this now gets its own dedicated drive. It's that status.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. We got dedicated drive status. and its own SSD.
So that's
flies.
big. So for Chris, it's getting dedicated drives. For me, I really like it, but it's already gone. Like literally, late last night, I blew it away and got ready to install yet another distro on that partition.
Chris understands. So and now look,
I love
great.
it though. It's great.
While I'm updating the system, Diablo 3
is setting up itself and doing its updates. Yeah.
It had to install some mono files in the background.
Chris, you know what that is? Huh. Multitasking.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Well, this distro feels very fast. Like Chrome doesn't launch faster on any distro than this.
It's really nice to see a Linux distro that supports multitasking out of the box.
I know, right? So there we go. There's my. So there you can see. There it is. Diablo 3.
It works. Yeah.
It works. I had it patched on the before I took the image, but it's 15 gigs, so I didn't want to add 15 gigabytes to the VM image just to have Diablo 3 files.
No.
But anyways, so there you go. There's the Linux
Not
Action
bad.
Show's look at Sabayon 9. Well, thanks, guys. We've got a good one for you this week.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you all are probably familiar with the game TeeWorlds. It's a free game that is awesome, runs on Linux. It's got a very cool retro look to it. Matt described it perfectly. It's retro, but it doesn't suck. And it's got a very unique style, but it has one big flaw, and that's its music. So Matt's got a tweak for us. Before we get to that, I want to say thank you to System76 for sponsoring this segment. System76 sent us a Wild Dog Performance PC.
Good machine.
We're doing all of these on this Wild Dog. I'm very jealous, Matt. Very
and
jealous.
it games. Oh my gosh. I was running Kazam while I was recording game. I mean, it's unbelievable.
So thanks to
Unreal.
System76 for supporting this segment. All right, Matt.
All right.
So let's take a look at TeeWorlds and how we can make things better for
All right.
ourselves.
So out of the box, we're just going to jump right into the game itself.
Okay.
And it is going to bounce right up here for us. Now, this is the music that I'm talking about. When you're in the menu, you're not hearing it right now, but it's pretty typical gaming type music.
We've
And
opted not to plug in the audio.
We're not going to plug in the audio. We're just going to go straight to the gameplay because, frankly, that's the most compelling stuff to watch. So
It is actually very cool looking.
I recorded some very weak attempts at my own gameplay, so let's take a look and have some laughs. So,
This is a classic side-scroller game. Audio listeners, if picture, I don't know, maybe Pac-Man with a rocket launcher, and he's jumping around in Mario World.
yeah.
That's pretty much what it is.
And it's got a grappler or something where you can like grapple onto stuff and like Tarzan around, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's free.
It's free. There is no music in game that I could find. However, using the techniques that I will show you to change the music, you could actually change the sound effects for the game. Such as the rocket money.
So it doesn't have like a soundtrack per se.
It does. They're individual sound files.
Oh.
And so you can. It's not like you have to unpack it and then do it. You can. They're already unpacked for you.
You can swap them out.
You can
or something
swap
like that?
them out. So you can make the rocket launcher say kaboom or, ping ping or whatever you want. I mean, you have that full control.
What's cool about TeeWorlds is it can be up to 16 players multiplayer, which just sounds
Crazy.
awesome.
Oh, and it just gets really rambunctious very quickly.
Yeah,
So
it looks like it get very
it's
rambunctious.
a pretty awesome little game.
Okay. Well, so other than making me really want to play the game, I don't know what we're trying to.
Yeah, let's go and pop out of
What's
that.
cool is we should say this is another neat feature of the game is Matt was playing that back using a built-in capture system in the game and then using built-in playback.
That's right.
That's a really neat tool that
It's
just comes built into the
very
game.
cool little feature. Let me find where the settings are for
Automatically record demos.
Yep, there we
automatically take game over screenshots. That's cool. So you can look back over the action.
And you can you obviously turn it on or off by checking the checkbox for each function, whether you want the screenshots or the recorded demos. And then you use the slider to select the maximum amount of demos or screenshots that you want.
That's awesome.
So if you have a lot of capturing to do, you can do that.
That's a neat, powerful feature that's just built right in.
It's very cool. Well, especially when you don't want to run a separate application to do the capturing for you.
Well, yeah,
I think it's
because
very cool.
that'd be a lot more overhead.
Oh, definitely.
So if you build it into the engine, I mean, it's still going to be overhead, but it's going to be more. It's going to be not nearly as bad.
Here's the part that I love. Now, you can actually select your custom colors, or you can actually select pre-existing characters.
Okay.
Now, my character is currently in camo. He looks like a kind of like a bowling ball in camo with feet.
I like that.
You can do maybe a little teddy bear guy, or you can do custom colors and just completely go nuts with the saturation, the hue, a lot of control. You can just totally mess with the feet. So you got a lot of controls there. Controls are pretty atypical for any first-person shooters. Not really a lot of excitement there. You can basically bounce from weapon to weapon automatically, or however you want to do that.
Yeah,
Sound
I like the
graphics.
control selection.
Yeah, sound and graphics is pretty typical stuff. So that's pretty cool. You can play online with your buddies.
That's very cool.
LAN party if you want. You have that feature. And, of course, you can save your favorite servers, much like, again, anything of that fact. So we're going to pop out of the game.
Okay.
And we will then bounce back. Now, as I said, the game itself doesn't have any in-game music, but the game music that it has for the menu area it could be better.
So that's the stuff that drives you nuts.
Oh, I think so. Especially when you're trying to, you're waiting for a refresh of your server list or whatever, and you want something that's going to really pump you up.
Yeah, okay.
I decided that I was going to take a copy of Freebird, that's an MP3, and create a wave out of it and drop that in. Okay. What I discovered is that out of the box, it doesn't work with a wave file. It actually works with something. Let me just show you rather than trying to explain it. So what I did is I dropped this little MP3 into Audacity and created just a wave file.
Yeah, just exported it out to wave.
Super simple. Don't need to show you that. But what I do need to show you is what we do to take that file.
That wave file?
Exactly, the wave file. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a terminal. I'm going to change directory to desktop. The next thing I need to do is I'm going to install a command line tool called WavePack.
Oh, I'm familiar with WavePack.
And you can see on the screen that all these things are popping up for you. So it's as if I'm typing them. And then once WavePack is installed, I'm going to issue the command, basically, that is going to take my existing WAV file that I created with Audacity and turn it into a WV file.
Okay.
Which, again, is basically the same animal, but it's done a little differently. So it's going to basically create that file. I'm going to do that now. And it's going to say, all right, so we've got a little file that has been created here on my desktop.
Very nice.
And it's the same file name that I gave it, Music Menu, which is appropriate for that particular game, although this would apply to most games.
But it's in it's got a .mv file extension.
Yes, it does. So that little tool basically did the little audio compressor, did all the work for me.
Nice. And I like this. So it does. It's not even. I guess it's compressing it, but it's compressing to a lossless. It says lossless.
Yeah, it works with a FLAC and other things. Yeah, it really does a really clean job. You're not getting a ton of compression there as far as any lossy sounding stuff. It sounds really good. Yeah. So you're not losing anything there. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. Now that I've created the file, the next step I need to do is I need to get it into the appropriate folder.
Right.
So we're going to do that with a command line.
I love it. Now, this is nice because while it might seem like it could be easier just to do it in the GUI, Matt's going to make all these commands available to you on the website.
Absolutely. You're not going to have to worry about remembering any of this stuff. I'm going to make both the command lines available as well as the scripts that I'm using so that you can do this quickly and easily without a little bit of point and click. Yeah. You can do both.
So just check the show notes for this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So right here, we've got the command that's going to basically take my little WV file, my music menu file, and it's going to move it into the appropriate directory, which is basically buried in the games folder.
Right.
And of course, we need to be rocking the sudo to do it. So yeah, we're going to do some root. I'm going to enter that. It's going to pop that open for me, and it is now moved. If I actually check.
There it is.
There it is.
Musicmenu.wv.
And it is now appearing in that audio folder for the game inside of Nautilus. And I just had that pop open so we can actually see that it was successful.
Cool.
So now, and I won't, obviously subject us to the
But if you were to open up the game, it would be playing that song.
It would, in fact, play the music at that point. That will then be the new menu music. Where this gets fun...
Okay, you know where that would be fun at? I'll tell you where that'd be fun, is in a LAN party. And
yeah.
Just to have like your own custom music, so when everybody's sitting around at the server screen, you're all listening to your own tune. That would be very fun. That'd really get me in the zone.
Oh, definitely. Well, and another cool feature is you can use the same technique to change the audio files for things such as movement, rocket launches. If you have a laser gun and you want it to go pew, 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 you can take Audacity and a headset and do that. I mean, obviously I have too much time in my hands, but it's fun to do. It's kind of fun to tweak.
Yeah.
And so you can absolutely tweak this game 6 ways from Sunday, and all the files to do so are right there.
Very cool.
Right there in the audio file. So you just use the same technique for whatever files you want to do.
Nice. And check out TeeWorlds. That is
cool game.
A cool game. And of course, like everything we just said, Matt covers all of that in the show notes.
Yep.
And just another quick thanks to System76 for sending us a wild dog, so that way Matt could play video games and then talk about it on the internet.
And I believe that brings us to the end of this week's broadcast. We've got some emails into us. Am I not mistaken?
You are correct. Thanks to everybody for using the contact link or sending these into Linux Action Show at jupiterbroadcasting.com. First one comes from George. He says, hey guys, in your own cloud features, I believe you were talking about how it would be awesome if it was integrated with Roundcube. If you're still interested in that, you might want to take a look at this. And naturally, he was curious, Brian, have you looked at Roundcube?
Yeah, well, we actually did a segment on Roundcube about 5 years ago. It's a great web-based email client.
So if you out there, if you checked out OwnCloud after we did our review on. Link in the show notes to get Roundcube integrated with it. That really would be
tight. That's actually pretty tight. I love Roundcube.
All right, Michael writes, great show, guys. Since I heard about the Raspberry Pi, I have an idea forming in my mind. It could be used to build your own personal cloud. Let's imagine you have your contacts, calendars, mail, and files via OwnCloud on your Raspberry Pi hooked up to a router. Instead of depending on third-party services, you could just run this. You could even have some FTP and HTTP server on there. And he even goes on to suggest maybe just running somebody could build their own distro for that.
Yeah. Well,
the Pi seems like a great device for an OwnCloud.
The Pi is a great device for that. I mean, at home right now, I've got basically Arch servers doing that sort of thing. There's no reason I can't be running that on top of a Pi. The real issue coming into terms with that is in terms of storage, because in the Pi, you're not going to plug in your eSATA port and get a big RAID array or something like that. Right. You're going to be going over USB, or you're going to have your data source somewhere else, over Ethernet or something along those lines.
Good point.
That's really the only big issue. But if that's not a big problem for you, and you can run off, say a 64 gig SD card, and that's going to do it for you, if that's going to handle your basic
small
data,
music library,
small
photos,
music, your email, that sort of thing, then the Pi is gorgeous.
That would totally work for hey, look at my photo repo here. All right, so Phil writes in, hey guys, love the recent coverage of the Raspberry Pi. Here's something neat. The Pi could be used for a tool in education, learning or improving English language skills, etc. Check out a narrative version of several of Thoreau's chapters of Walden. So this is an interesting idea. Super low price point. You could put some at the desk. You could put things like audiobooks on there.
Yep.
Imagine someone locking into their local public library with an SD card and getting it filled up with interesting, rich media, language, and learning, things like that. So you got like little kiosk, Raspberry Pi.
Raspberry Pi mini kiosk. Yeah. Stick it on in the little exposed slot.
Love that.
It's not a bad way to go. And do like network boot, basically.
Yeah. All right. We'll save that one for next week because that one's going to play off another thing we're going to do next week.
Okay.
So this is an interesting one. This one was written by Jason. He says, hey guys, I love the show, watch regularly. I've been using Linux for years. And a few years ago, I decided to go back to school and change careers. I'm now starting as an IT systems admin, and I'm at the point of deciding which platform I want to invest most of my digging in and focusing the majority of my time learning. I love many aspects of Linux, but most of my employers in the area are Windows-based. I was wondering if you ever had time in any of your shows to view your Linux, IT versus IT Windows thoughts, and you could discuss them and your view of job availability in those areas. I'm currently running both Linux and Windows desktops and servers in my house and have introduced Linux to my current employer. I understand a lot of places run both operating systems, but I sometimes feel it may be necessary to dig in and specialize in one than the other, and so on and so forth. Thanks, Jason. So what do you think, B-Man? Do you think Linux might make somebody slightly unemployable?
No, heavens no. Honestly, if you're working in the software industry, having more than one skill is kind of important. Come on. As an IT guy, if you can walk into a shop and be like, I'm going to support all of your Linux servers and all of your cheapo Windows XP workstations and everything else.
And most modern web applications are going to be targeted to a Linux LAMP stack, and that's a very good skill to have.
Hugely good.
Learn all that. But you got to go with also what makes you money. So it's a tough call, Jason. You just kind of have to look at your market.
And here's the other thing. Even specializing in something that's very niche can often turn out really good results. There's still a lot of great Fortran and COBOL developers out there that are making a mint. Well, and you normally would think, oh man, who uses Fortran? Bah! The other thing, you can make seriously good money as a Fortran expert.
I think I might mention is Jason might be putting the cart before the horse a little bit, because just there's so much in to be a good system admin is really good practices. And learning how, for example, documenting your config files, documenting your projects, project management skills, sound application management and configuration skills. All of those things, if you spend learning them on Windows or Linux, will translate between the other systems. Those are universal skills.
They're skills,
and that's kind of the stage you're at right now. So I wouldn't stress so much about that. And you got to learn the fundamentals, because without those fundamentals, it don't matter what. It
don't matter.
Don't matter.
It don't matter, son.
All right, B-Man. Well, I think that just wraps about everything we wanted to cover this week. I wanted to give a quick mention. If people, of course, System 76 sponsors the how-to segments on this show. And I don't know if you saw this, B-Man. There's a video of us now on the System 76 website.
Yeah.
See these handsome guys right there?
Yeah, video of us sitting over there.
Whoa, Brian. God, you're so loud.
You want to turn that off?
You are so loud.
You want to turn that off over there?
So yeah, the System 76.
Just yelling. I'm wearing the same shirt in that video as I'm wearing right now.
That's weird.
That's fantastic.
Although I noticed a scarf in that video.
Yeah, I can't find my scarf.
But so if you missed our review of the System 76 Leopard Extreme, the video's been posted.
That's a good rig.
I know.
I know.
Rig. All right,
and I've tried. I've dropped so many hint bombs to them hey, send me a free rig. Nothing.
Hint bomb.
Cheapos over there at
Hint bomb.
Hint bombs, guys. Come on.
Bombs. I know, right?
I just tried really hard.
The thing is what I really need to see. I'm not like Brian. I don't wear a jacket. So I need a laptop in front of me to cover up these white arms.
Yeah, you do.
I really
need
do.
a laptop.
I mean, if I had a laptop right here covering up my white arms
desktop.
with a nice System 76
on a big
logo
old tower off to the side, big monitor in front of me. Oh, that's
System
that
76
Leopard
sticker
Extreme.
on there. All right, B-Man.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Well, I think that's everything for this week's show.
Probably.
Yeah? Of course, I'm over here still watching our video because, gosh, look at us. Look at those good-looking guys.
Good looking.
See that Hawaiian shirt right there? I try
really
to slip
good
a little
shirt.
Hawaiian into every episode.
It's very nice. What's the Hawaiian for this episode?
The how-to segment.
That was pretty good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, B-Man. Well, I want to say thanks to everyone for tuning to this week's episode of the Linux Action Show. Of course, we do this show live, 10 a.m. Pacific on Sundays over at jblive.tv or audio over at jblive.info. And the show's out for download just about any format you could want
We think.
shortly after that.
Probably.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for tuning to this week's episode of the Linux Action Show. See you right back here next week.
Maybe.
It's news segment for this year Linux. Oh crap! One more thing. One more thing. Hey Brian. Hey Brian. Hey Brian. Hey Brian. Hey Brian. Hi. Hey Brian.